Welcome to Jay's Gamepad, everybody, and all my fellow G's and gamers out there. Wagwan. First and foremost, I'd like to ask if you could please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification if you like man's content or any of my content. I appreciate you. Let's get into this video. So there's been a lot of chitty chatting in these gaming streets in regards to Redfall and Starfield both not being able to run at 60 frames per second. And they're only going to run at 30 frames per second. Now that's crazy to me because they're both first person shooters. Yes, one of them is going to have RPG elements or whatever it is, but they're both first person shooters. Now last time I checked, for your game or for your first person shooter game to be good, it needs to at least run 60 frames per second. That's how it was during the PlayStation 4 generation, the last console generation. Like fighting games and FPS games, they ran at 60 frames per second because that's standard, you know what I'm saying? Now we've got these new consoles and these two games are only going to run at 30 frames per second. That doesn't seem like AAA quality to me. On this current gen console, nah. Also, we've got Ghostwire Tokyo, big up Digital Foundry. I watched the video last night, very informative. You know, Ghostwire Tokyo just got released on the Xbox Series X, 1 year removed from being released on the PlayStation 5, and it runs like shit on the Xbox Series X. Last time I checked, I thought that like the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, they promised to have games that run standardly 60 frames per second. That's just what I was told. But I'm seeing all this. Now, the funny thing about it is that I don't understand that how Xbox own Bethesda. They own Tango Games. It's a first party studio. 1 year removed, and a game that is coming out on the Xbox, the Xbox platform. And you got to remember, Xbox is meant to have the more powerful machine, the more powerful hardware, the more powerful console out of the two, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. They're meant to have the more powerful machine. It can't run. It can't make this game perform, look better than the PlayStation 5 1 year after the fact. That is crazy to me, man. That is crazy to me. And this is meant to be the new generation. Now, I don't really want to get into the finer details, you know, with the studios that are making Redfall and Starfield. Like, I'm not really going to get into it too much, you know what I'm saying? But this brings up a conversation that I've had multiple times before since the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X has come out. Why is us as gamers, as consumers, why are we even having these conversations? Why are we seeing these developers like bringing out these games 30 frames per second when one of the promises, the main promises that Xbox and PlayStation made is that our first party titles are going to be 60 frames per second? I thought that was the whole point of, you know, these powerful consoles charging us X amount of money for them. I thought that was the whole point of the SSD and all the technology that got put into these boxes. So why should we as gamers, I mean, regardless if you're Xbox fan, PlayStation fan, both, whatever it is, why is it that like during this generation, why is it that we should be looking at subpar games? You want to charge us more money? Then you need to make sure that these games are at least 60 frames per second. It doesn't matter what game you're making, in my personal opinion. Now, you might think or feel differently about that. If you do, let me know in the comment section down below. But I think that regardless of what game you're making, the game should standardly run at 60 frames per second. Now, I have written down a few points for the reasons why I think that we are seeing so many studios have difficulties. Yeah, maybe you could say it's the majority Xbox, you know, devs, you know, the studios in Xbox, they're having a lot of issues with it. You know, PlayStation are not 100% immune to this, you know, even though they are doing a lot better, but they're not immune. And we've got, you know, third-party developers that are having issues with it as well. So, number one, I wrote down bad management. It all starts with the management. Before anything else, it starts with the management. Number two, the budget, the money that you get to make your game. Number three, bad developers. If you've got shitty developers, it don't matter how much money that you're pumping into this game, you're not gonna be able to make a good game. And number four, bad engine. We've got developers that are working on shit, out of date, dusty engines, like the Frost engine. Like CD Projekt Red's old engine, that's not a great engine. You know what I'm saying? So there's quite a few bad engines out there. And number 5, the hardware that you're developing on. Now, obviously, it starts with bad management, because at the end of the day, if you've got shit management, that means you can't plan properly. It means you can't invest the money properly. It means you can't employ the best developers to work on your project, and it means that you're not going to invest in getting a good engine so that your developers can build the best game possible. And if you don't have an understanding of the hardware that you're developing on, like the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5 or even the PC, because the PC's having mad issues with certain games being developed for the PC, then that is a fucking problem. That is a problem within itself. Now, I don't understand here that how you have like fanboys, whether it's on PlayStation, Xbox side, that would be sucking off these companies and these studios, because last time I checked here, like, loyalty is meant to go both ways. Like, before you can have loyalty, there's trust. And for you to have trust, you know what I'm saying, you have to give someone the benefit of the doubt. So when you first meet somebody, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Then after a certain period of time, they build up trust with you. It could be you meeting up with them, I don't know, say you meet up with them 10 times. 9 times they're on time. The 10th time they might be late. They give you the reason. You trust them because you know that most time that they're going to be on time. Like, you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they built up credit in the bank. There's been like a history of them being on time. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the loyalty comes in, because it's been built up through trust. But it goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? You can't expect the consumers to keep on buying your bullshit when you keep on doing the same thing. If you're gonna promise something, like these developers or like, you know, Xbox and PlayStation came out and said, okay, well, yes, this next gen console, games are gonna run standardly at 60 frames per second. This is what we're promising. You know, our first party titles. If these games don't run at 60 frames per second, and like people come out and start cussing, they can't get mad. If you can't fulfill your promises, then you can't expect to charge the money you want to charge. Now, console gaming has become a very expensive hobby. It never used to be, but it's become a very expensive hobby. So if you want to charge more for games, for AAA games, for AAA quality games, i.e. it looking and performing the best, 60 frames per second, whatever you promised, then that's what you need to deliver. If it means it takes you more time to do it, then that's what it needs to be. See, I can't stand when developers bring out games that are like broken. You got these big day one patches, they're patching it later on, or they're bringing out these games and they're making you test it and stuff. Now, I mean, before the game comes out, then the game comes out, it's still all over the place, then you're still kind of testing it, then they're fixed. Like, I hate all that shit. Like, where's the quality control for these games? Where is it? You know what I'm saying? And the reason why that I have these 5 points here is because, for example, I remember years ago, like, we're probably talking about like the PlayStation 3 days here. I remember when Hideo Kojima wanted to bring out Metal Gear Rising, or like whatever he was going to call it back then. And the developers that were working on the Fox engine that they built, which was exclusive to Konami, that they built, they couldn't get the engine or the game to run with the engine that they're using to do the things that they said that this game was going to do. Platinum Games, I remember, like, there's this video, like, I never forget. Platinum Games came on board, took the Fox engine and did everything here that like Hideo Kojima said that he wanted to do in this game with the Fox engine but couldn't do it. They did it with the Fox engine, came back and said, bam, here's the engine, I mean, like, here's the game. But if you let us make this game on our engine, we can do this, that, and we can make it 10 times better. And this is what I'm talking about in regards to shit management, shit developers, and the rubbish, and the rubbish engine, and promising shit that you can't deliver on. And this is just me talking about games, like game development. Game development, making games. Like, it's crazy. And like, I saw a video the other day with the head of, is it Bethesda, coming out talking about like,
we will start with let the player have as much agency and do as many things as they can as possible. And we will sacrifice some graphic fidelity for that, some speed for that. You know, we could make a game that traditionally our games are, we okay with 30 frames a second as long as it looks really good and the simulation's running and all of those things. So we'll sacrifice some of that fidelity.
Why the fuck should we be buying a game that's been compromised like that? Why is it that you feel like you need to compromise graphics and 60 frames per second when that's meant to be the standard in this generation? Why are you compromising that shit? Well, that tells me that you got shit leadership, shit managers, shit developers, and a shit engine that can't develop for shit on the so-called most powerful console in this generation, which is Xbox Series X. That is a problem within itself. And if any gamer or anybody can sit there and watch that interview and think, yeah, that's okay, yeah, you know what I mean, for the experience, and that's a problem within itself. Because the thing is that I knew I knew all this was going to happen. Shall I tell you why? Yeah, because in the game industry, it seemed like these developers, yeah, and even Sony is just as bad, yeah. It's like they prioritize graphics over anything else. That's how it seems to me. Because in my personal opinion, I think that games could have been run at 60 frames per second. But I think a lot of developers are just lazy. And I think that they prioritize the wrong thing, like graphics. I knew the graphics were going to look good. PlayStation 5 console, Xbox Series X console, the graphics are meant to look better. But it's like a lot of these developers and a lot of these studios, it's like they prioritize graphics over gameplay, over 60 frames per second. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And do you know what's happened? Or what's happening is that console gamers are starting to get used to playing games at 60 frames per second as a standard. Because on PlayStation, they're killing it. You can pretty much play every game or every first party game 60 frames per second. And that is sick. And the thing is that when you do that, people start to see and get used to certain things. They feel the difference, they see the difference, they're getting used to it. Listen, like what's happening with Xbox is unacceptable, man. It's definitely unacceptable. And the thing is that like I've heard some people say, oh, but it depends on what game you're making, whatever. No, it doesn't matter what game you're making. 60 frames per second should be a standard by now. We should not be having this conversation or seeing in the gaming news that these studios and these devs are crying about they can't make a game that runs at 60 frames per second. Then they've got a problem. They've got a problem. And it makes me wonder, like, why the fuck did Xbox even purchase Bethesda? What was the point? You can't tell me because, like, you know what I mean? Because at Bethesda, they've been having issues with Fallout. Mad games looking like shit, running like shit. And I just saw the interview, Mama talking about, we will sacrifice 60 frames per second. We will sacrifice certain things just so that you can do all the things that we say that you can do in the game. If you can't develop a game with all the things that you promised, then don't fucking open your mouth. Shut the fuck up. And listen, this is the reason why, that like I can't justify spending 60, 70 pounds on most of these games. I just can't. Because nothing's changed from the PlayStation 4 days and the Xbox One days. What's changed? We're still waiting how many years for these games to get developed. The games are still coming out broken all over the place. These games are getting mad patches after the fact. Like, I just don't see what's the difference? Like, we buy these new consoles, these powerful consoles, they're meant to look better. The games are meant to perform better. So that's why we pay for the console. So why are we paying more for the games? Because these game developers are not doing anything extra or I'm not seeing anything different or anything better than I was seeing with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One days. What, no loading times? That's in the console. Oh, what, these games can run 60 frames per second? That's because of the power of the console, the hardware. Like, these developers are not doing anything special. They're not doing anything different. So why the fuck should me and you be paying anything more for these games? If anything, these games are actually getting worse. There's no innovation because these developers are too scared to invest or try to bring out a new IP. So they just repeat. Remakes. And don't get me wrong, like I love remakes. And I mean, if you do it properly, you do it good. I ain't got a problem with it. Capcom been killing it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, where's the innovation? There's no innovation. It's just recycling shit. Oh, it looks better. Oh yeah, it's got I mean, like, more fidelity, 60 frames per second. Cool, but I don't know, man. So I just wanted to talk about it, you know what I mean? But more from the aspect of, you know, it being a wider problem. Xbox are fucking up majorly, you know what I'm saying, more so with the games than anything else. PlayStation are fucking up in other ways, you know what I'm saying, with, you know, their hardware and their practices and certain things that they're doing with the services, you know what I'm saying. Not so much with the games and stuff like that, to be honest with you, you know. But when you look at third-party games, I'm seeing certain issues where games are coming out and they're coming out at, you know what I mean, like at 30 frames per second, you know. But with Xbox, they got the major issues with the game. And this isn't a Xbox or, you know what I mean, was it like me taking a dig at Xbox? This isn't a Xbox thing, you know what I'm saying. This is a, you know what I mean, like, this is a Xbox and PlayStation thing. This is, you know what I mean, like, this is a game, you know what I mean, was it like a problem that's in the gaming industry, in my personal opinion, you know what I'm saying. You got loads of people that are getting access, you know what I'm saying, and they're not being honest. They're coming out, they're just talking shit. They're getting, I mean, getting early access, they're getting hands on these games, and they're just like, you know, they're just not being honest because they want to continue getting access. And I think that's fucked up. And I think these developers need to fucking fix up as well, you know what I mean. And I think Xbox, they got a lot of work to do, you know what I'm saying. They do have a lot of work to do. And these developers, listen, man, you know what I'm saying, like, I don't know, man, they got to fix up, man. They got to fix up. And don't be surprised if you start seeing a lot of studios getting shut down even more so, you know what I'm saying, because, you know, we came out of the pandemic, the C virus, you know what I'm saying, inflation and the recession, and what, and these companies and these devs and studios, they want us to pay £60-70 brand new for these games, and these games are still running at 30 frames per second. A first person game, FPS games, nah, it's unacceptable, man. It's fucking unacceptable, you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it with that. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Was there some points I might have missed? If so, please let me know in the comment section down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification if you like man's content or any of my content. You can also hit me up on the social, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch, Jay's Gamepad across the board. You ain't got to tap, press anything else but that. And also, if you want to find me on PlayStation, my gaming name is MrGhostProtocol, where hopefully, you know, we can have some fun game-playing games at 60 frames per second, unlike some other consoles. Anyway, peace.